This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, I am so friggin' happy and excited for today's guest. It's been a long time coming, but I will be talking to the legendary queen of rock and roll herself, Suzi Quatro. Yes, Leather Tuscadero from Happy Days. Pow! And I just cannot wait. Suzi has sold over 50 million records all over the world. What an achievement. You know, why hasn't the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame took note of this? This is a dream I've been wanting to make happen my entire life. You know, she's best known for her classic hits Can to Can and Stumblin In, a classic ballad that celebrates 45 years this year. And I think, I don't know, the internet is not completely accurate. I think she had a scene that was cut from Clive Barker's Nightbreed, which I'll ask about as well. But she's currently touring and all that stuff, and it's going to be a great conversation today. And also, I'm embarrassed to say this, but yesterday I did 2 podcasts in which I said it was Mother's Day. I mean, hey, May 8th was always Mother's Day to me, you know, and so I'm sorry if I'm sorry for being inaccurate there. So I just wanted to make this clear. Yesterday was not Mother's Day. It's actually Sunday, May 14th, this upcoming Sunday. So I apologize for any misinformation of that. But hey, it makes a funny story. I mean, I gave my mom a card a week early and she loved it. But I'm sorry for that misinformation. It is not Mother's Day yesterday. So yeah, here is my interview with Suzi Quatro. Pow! Hey, Suzi.
How you doing?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry about the other 2 times. I've got such a crazy life right now.
Oh, I totally get it. I totally get it. I can't tell you what a great honor this is. I consider you a trailblazer in many ways, and I thank you so much for finally taking the time today. So, let me start by asking you, so how's touring going? Is everything good?
Everything is going fantastic. I mean, I'm doing a lot of the postponements from the 2 years of COVID, but the gigs themselves, I mean, I'm going to be 73 next month.
Yeah.
I'm getting the best reviews of my entire career. It's like I've written the reviews myself. I keep going, what? Yeah. But I am now doing finally my dream show, which is my 2.5-hour show with an interval, and showing all my colors. So that's what the critics are reacting to.
Wow, that is so fabulous. It only took you that long to get good reviews.
Well, I always had good reviews, but the superlative now, that's what I'm saying. And at my age, that's just a bonus.
Absolutely. Do you see a lot of new generations of fans in the audience when you play now?
Oh, absolutely. I get anywhere from 18 upwards, and sometimes very young too, because maybe like a young mom is bringing her kids to see me. I get little kids in the audience. It's a wide range of fans.
Yeah, that's so cute. That is so cute. What are your favorite places to go when you're on tour?
Oh God, I like everywhere. I mean, Australia and me have a love affair. I'm now on next. Is it January or February? I'm about to do my 39th tour there. 39. Wow. I've done 15 tours of Japan, which I love because it's so unusual. I tour Europe all the time. I love touring everywhere. I don't have a favorite as such. But if I have a second home, it's kind of Australia because I've been there so much of my career.
Yeah, wow. So I gotta tell you, I love Suzi Quatro Uncovered. It's a great little EP. That cover of Midnight Hour is so true to the original, and it sizzles. And Sitting on the Dock of the Bay was so gorgeous. How did it come about that you were going to have Steve Cropper involved?
Well, Otis is a big thing in my life. I started loving him in my teenage years, and that was in my first band, which we started I was 14 only. I was very young. And my two big show-stopping numbers were Try a Little Tenderness and I've been loving you too long. So I've been listening to Steve Quatro for a long time, and
Hmm.
this Stock of the Bay, I've wanted to do this forever. So always had a feeling, always had a strong feeling for this song, and I called Steve and I said I've done a different version. Would you play on it? And he heard it and he said I absolutely love it. And yes, I will. So he's on it. And you couldn't believe how good he plays. You know, when you play that for people, I
Hmm.
say, okay, this is Steve Cropper. He wrote the song with Otis. He produced it and played guitar on it. And if you play it to another guitar player, they sit there and they go, oh yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything he plays, you just go, yeah, well, that's the one. Okay, we'll keep that one. Yeah, we'll keep I always say nobody chops like the crop, you know?
Absolutely. Great way of putting it. That cover of Bad Moon Rising was also great. I'm a Bay Area boy, so I love it when people cover CCR. And that was a great little music video you made for it as well. How do you choose which cover songs you want to do?
Well, first of all, I got to tell you that's the only one that made it into the show was Bad Moon Rising.
Hmm.
It's in my set. I said it when I did my little ad for the uncovered thing. It just feels like it could have been a Susie single. I don't know why. It just does. It's just me. So anyway, that's in my show. My son, who I've done the last two albums with, and we've charted all around the world. He's given me a new lease of life, and he had some very strong ideas. I had some strong ideas. We threw stuff around, and I ended up with things that made me learn what I had to learn, made me get into the business, you know?
Hmm.
So every artist that I chose, there's a reason that artist is there. You know, a couple of things we tried, it didn't really work. James Brown, I love James Brown. I didn't know the
Hmm.
song. And this was the only one my son kept insisting on. And he just kept saying, trust me, Mom, trust me, Mom. And then I did it. I thought, oh, it's just brilliant. The ball is just brilliant. Like, but it's only because I didn't know the song. And
Hmm.
then once you get it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel the Earth move. That was also another good one on there.
Yes, that's because Carole King meant a lot to me. She gave me my emotional support when I was alone in London when I first got here with Tapestry. So Tapestry was
Oh,
very important to me, and I wanted to return the favor.
wow, one of the greatest albums ever recorded.
Oh, the best.
Yes. So going back in time, I know that you came from a music family and you were influenced by Elvis when you saw him at the age of 6. But I'm curious to know, though, what made you go from classical piano and drums to bass instead of plain old guitar?
Uh, I, I'm not a guitar player. I'm not. You know, a lot of bass players are failed guitar players. I am not. Um, my first instrument was bongo drums.
Mhm.
So I'm very percussive minded. Bongo drums. I played in my dad's band sometimes. I was 7 years old. Then you know, big musical family, 5 kids, and we all took piano. I have to say, every single one of us took piano lessons. Loved it. I learned my chording. I learned my scales. I learned composition. I still sit down and play my Beethoven, and I open up my classical book. I then went to percussion in school and joined the school band. So I was in the drum section and I was first chair, which I love. That I beat all the boys. So start as you mean to go on. And then I picked up the bass at 14 only because when we started the band, all the girls chose an instrument real quick and I just didn't speak up. And Patty said, "You're on bass." I said, "Okay." And the best part about this is, and when I tell musicians this, I see them want to kill me. My my first bass that I learned on, that I still have, I was given by my father, who was a musician all his life, a 1957 Fender Precision with a gold scratch plate, a stripe up the back of the neck, sunburst finish, and a basement amp. And it's disgusting. I was given a Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce. Oh, that is crazy. Yeah, because I think most musicians of your generation were drawn to the guitar, and some stuck with it. You know, obviously, because they saw a lot of guys like Chuck Berry and Keith Richards was good at it. I just find that interesting that you gravitated toward the bass. You know, and of course you've influenced so many people like Kathy Valentine of the Go Go's on the bass.
If you watch, have you watched Suzy Q?
I haven't yet, but it's on the list.
Oh, you must, because every girl is in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back to that in a minute. What gravitated me to the bass? First of all, piano is a percussive instrument. Plus, I play drums, so I'm that way minded. But it's a really dumb thing. When we were in the car, and my dad couldn't afford to take 5 kids on airplanes, so we did a lot of road trips in the station wagon, and we would always have sing songs because we were all musical, and everybody would take their natural harmony note, and my dad was always going in the front seat, dum. I used to think that's the best part.
Right.
So I'm a natural bass player. That's the only way I can put it. It just came to me naturally.
It makes sense. Do you remember the first album or 45 you ever bought with your own money?
The first album would have been, let me think. I can remember the first single.
Okay.
That would have been You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby by Bobby Darin.
Oh, nice.
I think the first album must have been, it must have been an Otis Redding album. I'm pretty sure.
Well, go figure, because you do a couple of his songs on the EP. How about the first concert you ever attended?
That would have been the Beatles in 1964. And they're also the reason we started the band, because I saw the Ed Sullivan Show with Elvis Presley at 5.5 and decided I was going to do what he did. Don't ask me why. Crazy thought for a little girl to have. And in 1964, we saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And that's when we called our friends. We had 2 sisters we knew and another girl whose dad was in my dad's band. And it was from the Beatles that we decided to form a band.
Yes, the Pleasure Seekers. And you did you become like a regional band, like, right away that everybody knew?
We were a show band.
Right.
We did like a Sgt. Pepper set. We did a Motown set. We did a Top 40 set. We used to do things like changing instruments and doing dance steps midway through. So yeah, we were a show band. We worked all the time because we were an all-girl band, which was unusual. So we got hired. I loved that band. I was called Suzi Soul back then, and I was the main front person. So I did 98% of the singing, and then that band morphed into Cradle.
Right.
Which was only in for about 18 months. So we brought my little sister in to start singing lead. So I was put more in the background. And that's when I became very, very, very proficient on my bass guitar. Mm-hmm. And then when I left Cradle, because I got discovered and taken to England to be solo, when I did that, then the Suzi Quatro from the Pleasure Seekers and the bass player from Cradle came together, and that's who I became.
Were your parents worried because you girls were starting so young to be professional musicians like that?
I don't think they were. First of all, there were 3 sisters together at one point, and then 4 together. Plus, my eldest sister, who played keys, her husband came to manage us. So I think they kind of felt it was safe and in the family.
Nice. Yeah, because back then, there was no internet, and kids were so creative with their time. Now they're on their cell phones playing Wordle and believing that their self-esteem is high because they get likes and clicks on their photos on Instagram. It's a completely different world now than it was back then.
It was. You had to work for it back then. Nothing was easy. But I'm glad I came up the way I came up. I'm glad I came up working the clubs in the 60s and doing 5 shows a night, 45 minutes on, 15 off. Boy, talk about learning your chops and learning how to use your voice. That's how you do it.
Yeah, back then anything went. I mean, there was room for error. It wasn't so much a business where you could just go to the clubs and just hone your craft and get better and then build up a reputation.
Absolutely. But it is the only way to learn, because I can jam with anybody, and that's just experience.
So who were the other Detroit acts that were playing in the clubs when you were coming up?
Oh God, we were all friends. Let's see, Alice. I'm very close with Alice. I've been for years. Iggy Pop and the Stooges was on MC5. Knew them very well. Ted Nugent. God, who else? Oh yeah, sure. Ember Dukes, Mitch Ryder. Bob Seger, so many. But back this Kathy Valentine thing. Funny you mentioned that. If you watch Suzi Q documentary, it did really great. Went to the top of the Amazon charts. Very honest warts and all documentary. And I went to see the premiere at the Regent's Theatre in London. I was booked for the Q&A. And I wanted to see it with an audience, so I snuck in and watched the show. And people always are asking me this question. They say, did you realize what you were doing? No, I did not. I honestly had no idea that I was breaking down the door because I didn't see the door. And I didn't realize it until I saw this documentary, and everybody that you can think of, Nita Sparks, Lita Ford, Sherry Curry, Debbie Harry, Kathy Valentine, Katie Tunstall, who I've got a record coming out with this next month. They all said the same thing. All these people, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Chrissy Hine. Yeah. They all basically said none of them would have done what they did. Tina Weymouth, none of them would have done what they did if they hadn't seen me with my band having success leading a rock and roll band.
Oh, I know.
So, and then I started to cry when I watched that. I started to cry because that was actually the first time it ever dawned on me what I'd done. And I think that's a wonderful thing because it means I didn't have an agenda. I was just doing what I was doing. I didn't know I was so weird.
Yeah, you probably looked at it and went, oh my God, I feel like this is like an obituary and I'm still here.
I just didn't know what I was doing was that unusual.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it had done, but every woman I know gives me the credit for the first one. So I'll take that to my grave very proudly that I was the first. Hooray. I feel very, very humbled by that and very happy about it.
As you should. Did you know Question Mark and the Mysterians?
Sure.
Yeah, I hear a little bit of their influence in the Pleasure Seekers music when I listen to it.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's the key, that key, 96 Tears, that kind of keyboardy sound.
Yeah.
That was Wurlitzer, and we had one of those.
Yeah, I talked to Question Mark a few years ago. What a strange, interesting guy he is.
Oh, he is strange.
Yeah.
He said to some DJ one time that he was mad at me for stealing one of his songs, and it was one that was written by Mike Chapman and Nicky Chinn. I said, you know what, go talk to them. And it was something so unlike what he does. He's a little bit crazy, but he's unusual, that's all.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, though, overall.
Yeah, underneath it all, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I wouldn't necessarily categorize you as glam rock, but you were, at the forefront, in England when it was going on. Were you in the middle, were you aware that you were in the middle of a rock revolution at that time?
I was, and the funny thing is, and Mike Chapman actually says this on the documentary, I was never glam. Mm-hmm. I was in that period, absolutely, but I was based in rock and roll. And the boys had on the makeup, and I had zero makeup on, and a plain black leather suit. So I was completely the opposite of what glam was, but I started having hits in that era. So yes, I'm part of that glam rock explosion without being glam, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you had all these different bands. You had T-Rex and Slade and Sweet and Mott the Hoople. They were doing the glam rock thing. And then, of course, you had the heavy metal scene with Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. I mean, hard rock was being done in England in many different ways. It was a magical time.
It was.
Yeah. So you get to go support Thin Lizzy on tour. Any great anecdotes about Phil Lynott?
Oh, I actually liked Phil. I was given 15 minutes at the beginning of the show. It was before I had my own success, and my band was together. Then I got my band, and we had been doing the college circuit, and Mickey Most was good friends with Chaz Chandler, who managed Slade, and he used to be the bass player for the Animals, which Mickey had produced their hits.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I got this girl. She's going to be huge. I want you to give her a shot on your tour. So they put me on at the beginning, and then it was Thin Lizzy, and then it was Slade. And, we got to know each other pretty well. He was a very nice guy, Phil. He was a sweetheart. And he was getting his life together, unfortunately, getting it together when he passed away.
Yeah. He was one of a kind. He was like bringing Bob Dylan's lyrical structure to hard rock, and I can't think of anyone else who ever did that.
Yeah, well, Dylan is my hero. by the
Yeah.
way. My absolute hero. I used to sit down in my basement in Detroit and make people come down, light incense, and recite his lyrics.
Yeah. I mean, even though he was a folk rock guy, he influenced even rock and rollers.
Well, he influenced me huge. I'm a very, very good lyricist myself,
Hmm.
and I don't think I would have been that good. I'm a poet too. I've got 2 poetry books out.
Hmm.
He really influenced me. That's all I can say. His lyrics can make me laugh. They can make me cry. To write at his age, to make you feel my love. How amazing is that?
Hmm. It is. It is.
Oh,
The,
I
gr-
just love him.
yeah, I mean, he's part of the Great American Songbook, or he should be at least. Going back to Alice, yeah, I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. Which tour did you support him on?
That was his Welcome to My Nightmare tour. We did 80 shows.
Yeah, the first solo
I,
tour.
I had done 20 before that in Canada.
Hmm. Yeah, those
So,
those those audiences
go,
must have been wild though, because he had all those theatrics.
Alice is a very nice guy. I've known him for a long time, since I've been a teenager, and he's a friend. That's all I can say. He's a friend.
Yeah, I saw him in 2000 at the Warfield in San Francisco, and he did like at least 1 or 2 songs from almost every album he ever recorded, and it was just amazing from start to finish. It's he's a showman. Did you ever play with the arrows?
Well, now you're talking another one. Alan Merrill was like a brother to me.
Yeah.
He's passed away now. He passed away from COVID. The Arrows were on my label, Rack, and we shared the same producer. And Mike wrote songs for them too, Mike Chapman. So yes, I knew them very, very well. We even did a tour together. No, we toured Germany 2 or 3 times together, and then we did a big tour in England called Rack Rocks Britain. And it was Cozy Powell and the Arrows, and I headlined. So, yes, Alan and I stayed in contact all through the years. We emailed. I saw him whenever he was in New York. He came here and did one of my radio shows for me on the BBC Radio 2, which was about Rack Records.
Mm-hmm.
And he flew over and did that. And then he passed away, and I miss him. He was a good friend.
Yeah, he was also underrated, very talented songwriter, and of course, he wrote. Of course, he wrote "I Love Rock and Roll" for Joan Jett.
Sure. Yeah, but she doesn't mention that.
Yeah.
And you know what else?
Mm-hmm.
She took the original arrangement pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Alan said that to me a few times, that she doesn't really let it be said that it's not her song, and she should. You should let whoever wrote it give him the credit.
Yeah, I've heard stories about people, writing songs for other people and they don't credit them or even send them a thank you letter. It's sad.
Yeah.
Does she ever cite you as an influence?
Are you kidding? She's in the documentary, and
Okay.
and there's a very famous picture of her in a Suzi Quatro wallpaper bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Before she even thought about being in the Runaways. I used to see Joan at my gigs before she was in a band.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd be in the hotel lobby waiting for me. Big fan. Big fan. She was in the documentary, said some very nice things about me. And she even sent me a gold record just as a gift. And in commemoration to Suzi Quatro. So yes, she's been very sweet. And maybe I'm going to be doing Suzi and Friends, and I think I just might ask you to contribute.
Oh yeah, that would be great if you could get her.
Yeah, sure would. It would be full cycle. I mean, she might have started off very much imitating me, but she certainly didn't stay that way. She found herself, and we all start. Every artist starts with somebody.
Yeah.
And then you develop into your own thing. But we all do that. Here's your beginning, and then you find out what you are.
Absolutely. Can you believe Stumblin In turns 45 this year?
Well, this year is my 50th year of the Can being number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stumblin In, that is a real favorite.
Yeah, I mean, this song was out of left field for both you and Chris Norman, being rock and rollers. It kind of has, and I hate to draw comparisons, it kind of reminds me of something you'd hear on, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors.
It's a great song. We were at a award ceremony in Germany, and I was also there recording at EMI Studios in Cologne. And after the award ceremony, we all went to this private party, VIP party. So they had a band up there, and it was all the famous people from the award ceremony. And I kept going to all the other artists and saying, "Come on, let's get up and jam." Nobody would jam with me. Oh. So finally, I just grabbed Chris. I didn't ask him. I grabbed him, shoved him on the stage, and we started to sing. And Mike happened to be there, Mike Chapman, and he looked and he went, "Oh, I like how that looks. I like how that sounds." And the next morning, he came into the studio with the chorus of Stumblin In.
Wow.
It's an evergreen. It's a real favorite around the world.
When you say they wouldn't get up and jam with you, what was it? They were giving you the stink eye?
Everybody kind of had the attitude, "We're not working tonight." And I thought, exactly, this is fun. Come on. Let's go up and jam. And I like to jam with anybody.
Yeah. Any memories of making that music video where you two are in the black room with the disco lights and candles?
Oh, that one, yeah. Yeah, I think I was trying to. I remember Chris being quite intimidated by me, actually. Because I'm an actress as well, and I was looking at the lyrics and acting them out, and every time I did, he turned. So I think he was a little bit ill at ease, I have to say. But I love his voice, and we made a great single together. We did.
It is, yeah. It's still a beautiful song that holds up.
It is.
I did it as a duet in karaoke at least once or twice back in the day.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of Happy Days. I was lucky enough to interview Marion Ross a few years ago. What a sweet lady.
I love her. You know what's so funny? We were in New York. I can't remember. It must have been maybe 10, at least 10, maybe 15 years ago. And it was on a Sunday. And we were walking down, what street is that? On 54th Street on our way to Fifth Avenue. It was not a nice day, kind of cold and windy. And a couple was coming towards us, and my husband and I were walking the opposite ways. So we passed each other, this couple, both of us passed. And we got 10 feet away, we both turned around and screamed. And it was Mary and her husband. Now, who would have thought? We just screamed. We both went by each other and went, "Oh, my God." Nice lady.
Yes, and she called me back like 2 hours later to tell me that I was a gentleman and that she had a great time. What a classy lady that is.
Oh, I loved her. Yeah, I love her to pieces. And in fact, I'm still very much in email contact with Henry and Ronnie. We email all the time.
Yeah, I met Anson a few years ago at a Comic-Con as well. He's also a great guy. The story I've read is that Gary Marshall's daughter was a fan of yours. She had a poster of you on her wall, and that's what gave him the incentive to cast you as Leather Tuscadero.
Yeah, they had the script for a while. They couldn't find what they were looking for. They wanted somebody who was tough but vulnerable, somebody who could act and maybe sing. And they saw my picture on the cover of Rolling Stone. And it was actually his sister, Ronnie Allen, who was in charge of casting. And she just said, "Who's that? That's who we want. That's who we're looking for." She said, "That's Suzi Quatro." So they got in touch with me in Japan, and I flew over and auditioned for the part and got the part. I did 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And the day that I got the part, I was sitting in my room waiting for the phone call after the audition at the hotel room, and the TV was on. And they called him and they said, "We don't just want you for this 2-part episode. We want you for 3 seasons." I said, "Fantastic." And right then the TV said, "Newsflash, the king is dead." Oh. Right at the same moment. So, wow. Talk about being spiritually connected, I tell you.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's awful getting that news that your idol just passed, especially someone like Elvis. Yeah, I've heard you say in previous interviews that Ron Howard told you not to take acting lessons because you were a natural.
He did. Because I thought I could have taken that either way. I said, "Why?" He said it would ruin what you have. You're just natural, and I think that is a big compliment.
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why I love that character, why so many love that character, is because she exuded so much empathy and sweetness, underneath all the toughness, and I can tell by, talking to you now, there's a lot of Suzi in that character.
Well, if you act, you put yourself in there.
Right.
You do put yourself in there. I don't actually act, I become. So whatever I read in that script that I could use of me internally, I did. And I am like that. I am tough on the outside and just marshmallow on the inside. So I am like that, yeah. And I even played Annie Oakley, very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did Leather's pow salute come from?
Well, we were trying to think of a bit of business.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call it, a bit of business. And we tried a few this, few that, few that, few that. And I don't know where that came from. I think I just did it one day, and somebody said, "That's it. That's the one."
Yeah, so many people remember it. I'm sure you have fans coming up to you doing that to this day.
I do it on stage when I talk about it. When I do my talking bit and I say I was on Happy Days, and I do my little thing, and everybody cheers. So yeah, it was a very popular show. I was glad I did it.
Yeah, did you ever get to go to the Paramount sitcom after parties that went on?
No, every time one of those came up, I was on the road.
Mm-hmm.
What a drag, just the way it is, because I'm a working artist.
Mm-hmm.
It never coincided.
Did you ever get to meet Robin Williams?
Yes,
Yeah.
met him on the set.
Yeah, everyone tells me across the board, just the nicest guy.
Oh, you just don't stop laughing.
Yeah, during the years I did stand up in San Francisco, I knew a lot of people who knew him, but sadly I never had my Robin Williams experience.
He was just funny. When he was on, and you can't not laugh. It's as easy as that. Very very talented guy. It's just shame, that he was a manic depressive, which he was.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics are,
Right.
and they cover it with the comedy. So it's a shame.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a ego room. I call it my ego room up on the third floor of my house, and everything's in there. So if I want to go up an ego trip, I go upstairs to the third floor, close the door, enjoy myself, come out and close the door again. That's a good way to do it. Really, it really is. It has a space, and my ego room is the quietest room in the house, which is really psychologically mind-boggling.
I like that ego room. I'm gonna be moving soon, so probably I'll get an ego room in the apartment that we're getting.
Everybody should have one.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode you were in?
Oh gosh, I think Miriam Plays Fairy Godmother was her favorite, where I had to go
Same
to the
here.
prom with Ralph Melf and be a lady, and I particularly liked that one. I didn't do any singing in that, so it was just my acting. And Donnie and I both agreed that we loved the script on that one.
I think that's the best one. Yes, and you looked fabulous in that dress, and they did a great job with your hair and that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, we liked it. We talked about it afterwards. He said that's one of my favorites. I said me too.
Oh, do you ever perform Cat's Eyes live?
I did perform it for years and years and years,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll probably find its way back in again at some point. That's a good song, and it means something to me. It's all about me leaving home, and I left home, and of course it's the audition that I do when I get my job at Al's.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Thank you.
Jerry Paris, directed so many episodes of Happy Days. Do you remember anything about him?
I loved that man. I absolutely loved him. He was very patient with me, very kind with me, and apparently the funniest thing was he was a woman hater, not gay, just didn't like women. And Ronnie told me this, and he adored me.
Wow.
But see, I gave as good as I got. That's what he liked about me.
Yeah, I talked to his daughter Julie a few years ago, and she was kind of, I hate to use the term tight-lipped, but like she just didn't have much to say about her dad that I don't think she wanted to say. You know what I mean? That he was complicated, but that's good that he liked you.
He was complicated, and I miss him very much. I really, really had a lot of affection for that man.
Yeah, he was young when he passed. He was only like 60 or something.
Yeah.
He had
a brain tumor, I think. I think that's what happened.
Right. Is it true you were cut from Clive Barker's Nightbreed?
Yes, but they wanted me to do a nude scene.
Mm-hmm.
And my attitude is I made my name keeping my clothes on, and I'm not going to change it now. So I said no to that.
Mm-hmm. So, but you didn't shoot a scene with clothes on? It was cut out of the movie?
They didn't want. They wanted me to be with clothes off. in one of the scenes, and I said no to that. So that part wasn't for me. Absolutely not.
Do you hope to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I used to. I don't really care anymore. It's been going on for so long now. You just get tired of talking about it. And when you see, I've heard a lot of bad raps from people now. When you see who they put in,
Yeah,
and who they put in, you just kind of go, what? It doesn't make any sense. The only thing I ever say is that, they've got the reputation, and if they're going to honor anybody, then they should definitely honor the first, which was me. It's kind of dumb. So, but you get past the point. I just don't care anymore. They do or they don't. Who cares? Whatever. Maybe I say no.
I know I'm very critical of them for many reasons, but lately I mean their choices have been questionable. Like I love Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson, but come on, they're country first and foremost.
Yeah, they are. It's just wrong. And anyway, whatever. I'm tired of talking about it. Either they do it or they don't. Whatever. It's up to them.
Well, I'll tell you, you have my vote.
Thank you. I think I've got everybody's vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are amazed, but there you go.
Are you working on a new book?
I'm working on I've published 6 books. I'm working on my 7th now. It's another novel. Mm-hmm. I've got 2 poetry coffee table size illustrated out. I've got a lyric book out, same thing. My Unzipped, my autobiography, of course, and my novel, The Hurricane. So I'm now working on my 2nd novel, and I started my 3rd poetry book.
What sparked your interest in poetry?
Pardon me?
What sparked your interest in poetry?
I've been doing that since I've been a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm words are my weapon, I tell you.
Yeah. That ties into your songwriting.
Yes, it does. It certainly does. And and I'm a pretty fine lyricist myself, and I love words. I do love words. My husband's always telling me that you are a poet. In my heart, I'm a poet. Yeah.
I totally agree with your husband. Yes, listen to him. So you mentioned before you were doing a new album. What's the status of that?
Well, I've got at the moment. We're waiting to release the first single from my duet album with KT Tunstall, and the album we've written everything ourselves, sung ourselves, played ourselves. Just a brilliant album, if I have to say so. It's just magic. I don't know how we connected, but we did. And it was a match made in heaven. So that comes out. I'm also working on some film music, which I've got 2 or 3 already in films. And we're working on songs from my next album. So my son and I work together now all the time. He is also a producer. He's a fine songwriter. He did, the last 2 albums with me. And he's a very, very, very good guitar player.
Nice. So the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. What do you think now? I mean, vinyl is starting to make a comeback, right? But we're still in this digital mode of downloading music. Do you think that downloading digital has taken out the magic of records?
I think it's taken the money out of the artist's pocket, is what I think.
Well, of course.
Because the artists are at the bottom of the food chain now, and that can't be right. That can't be right. And a lot of big names are coming up and saying, wait a minute. So they do have to address that. It's not right. Why should you earn pittance over a song we've written? So anyway, like I said, the digital did take over. It's kind of coming back a bit. Records are getting a little bit more popular again. So maybe it'll swing back again. I hope so.
And a lot of people, not you, mind you, but a lot of people are, making their money touring, and they really shouldn't,
I've always made money touring. But we were not making it from record sales anymore because people aren't physically buying. There's hardly any record shop stuff. They do download. So, like I said, you are at the bottom of the download food chain. The artist is, unfortunately.
Right. It's Kiss. They're doing like $20,000 meet and greets, which I think is ridiculous.
Oh, that is. But what are you going to do? They have taken the food out of our mouths, and it's our music.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Are you still hosting radio?
Am I still
hosting radio?
No, I left that. I did it for 15 years,
mm-hmm.
and then I wanted to just concentrate on my music. It takes a lot of time. And I was nominated for Radio Broadcaster of the Year at the Sony Radio Awards, so I had a good run at it. And if I ever want to go back, I can. I've got a very good radio voice.
Have you ever thought about hosting a podcast?
Yeah, but not now. I'd rather do my bass lines again. I did those during the COVID years. I did 62 instructional bass lines and played along to songs, and that was good. I even did a joke of the week during COVID, which my jokes are notoriously so bad that they're hilarious. I did a Sunday special, where I stripped back the songs and played the piano how they were written. So I like doing stuff like that. I don't know about a podcast. I think it's just too many of them out there.
Have you talked to Sherilyn lately?
No, not for a long, long time. God, I can't remember the last time I spoke to her. It must have been when my mom was dying, I think. Well, we don't really have a close connection. She's my niece, but we don't really communicate. She lives in California, and I haven't seen her for years, to tell you the truth. But she's a very pretty girl, fine actress.
Yes.
I'm very proud of her.
Yes, I've met her a couple of times. I met her at a horror con about 4 or 5 years ago, and then I saw her a month before the pandemic at a screening of Just One of the Guys. It was an anniversary screening up in San Francisco, and yeah, she's just a wonderful person, very spiritual and all of that.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. So June 1st, you'll be at Gifhorn, Germany, and people can check out your website, www.suziquatro.com, for more tour dates. I take it you're getting pretty excited for this next leg of the tour.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm playing everywhere right now. I'm away for nearly the whole month of May, and then at the end of the November, I'm doing 5 big shows here in the UK UK and Wales to celebrate the 50 years of Can the Can being #1. So ending up at the Palladium. Last year I did the Royal Albert Hall. That was fantastic. And like I said, and then in February I go back to Australia again. Got to get back to America. I think once this album comes out with KT and me, it's going to really spark something.
Yeah, I mean, come to California, I'll definitely go check you out, at a show there.
That would be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, but when you do come to the States, you still go back to Detroit?
Oh, always. Oh, yeah. I had my 60th birthday there, and I went back there to do a radio special on Motown, then a radio special on the White Axe in Detroit, and then I went back there for my 65th birthday. Then I went back to get the award at the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then I went back there for a Dick Wagner charity concert for children. So yeah, I get back. I'm spiritually, it's Detroit is my home.
Yeah, have they done any honoring there for you, like giving you a key to the city or whatever?
I'm in their Hall of Fame. For lifetime achievement.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, once again, Suzi, this has been a tremendous honor, and I hope you have fun the rest of the year touring, and keep writing, and, I'll keep an eye out for that new album, and just be safe out there.
Thank you very, very much. I enjoyed it, and you take care.
Thank you so much. Have a great night over there.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Suzi Quatro. Ain't she a sweetheart? What a great lady. I'm so glad we had that conversation today. And, oh my God, my heart was in my chest the entire time, as I'm sure you could tell. But I'm glad I did it, and it was great having that conversation with her. And that was great to hear about Question Mark and Robin Williams, ask her about some things that she normally doesn't talk about in interviews, at least that I've heard, at least. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes. Pow.